People out there, life pushes them hard enough, they'll do anything.
At Spiga Biotech, we make our own laws.
By the end of the day, we'll own half of Europe.
The higher up you go, the less you can hide.
You really want this promotion, don't you?
More than anything.
He was sent to gain our trust and destroy us from within.
Were all the lies about protecting Spiga or yourself?
After a while, you'll think this is who you've always been.
What we do it for the good of the company.
Yeah, you like that? You like that? Yeah, exactly. A little pep talk from yourself. How you guys doing today? You guys excited to talk to Sean? I know I am. We're just gonna start. I know you've done a lot of projects, man. You've been doing this for a while, but I'm just gonna start right into Incorporated just to get it into. Starting on a show that is taking place in 2074. I mean, what did you expect when you opened up this script? And was it something that you expected to see, or is it something that was completely different and interesting to you?
I sort of expected it to be completely unexpected. I think there's so many, every single script, I think we got a new script in every week and a half, and I had no idea where it was going to go at any point. So many things happen in this world that is obviously, it's wildly different from the one we have, but it's entirely derived from where we're going to go. So you can understand the foundation and the reasoning behind all the decisions that are there, the technologies that's there, and sort of the basis of the world. But other than that, it's so difficult to gauge, and the show has so many different plot twists and so many secret motives and lies that I was expecting to not expect anything.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think that is fascinating. The whole technologies are developed, the landscape of the world at this time. I'm sure there was some research and some heavy science that went into it. I mean, it's talking about climate change, it's talking about a lot of real problems that we're having right now. Crop deprivation and everything like that. I mean. With the writers, have you been communicating a lot with the writers and where they're going with the technology and where it's leading?
I'd communicate them with a lot more if they wanted to talk to me. I think that they're so busy doing their own thing. No, we talked a lot, and actually they should be really smug. I think they are really smug, because every week or so I call them back and I go like, Jesus, you're geniuses. How did you call this before it happened? And I mean, like Miller, who played my wife on the show, she's great. She emailed me about this Werner Herzog documentary. Where a bunch of the technology that we have in the show that I thought was quite far-fetched, mind-reading devices that are sort of attached to your visual cortex or whatever, is already in development, and in 50 years it could be the thing that we now have in ours. So, and we have some political stuff about walls, and we couldn't quite imagine that someone...
In this case, the wall is on the Canadian border, right?
Yeah.
So we're trying to get up there.
Which is going to happen, after all that online stuff. So these guys have just hit the nail on the head and gauged it really well as to where we're going, and it's the easiest thing to do is just to pull it in and use it for the show.
Yeah, and in scenes like this, where you have technology that you're interacting with, like body scanners that are going down. I mean, how much of that is actually present? How much of that is practical? And how much are you having to act?
Oh, I'm just standing on a piece of cardboard. I just saw that there's a lot of scanning in the show. I promise, people say stuff and do scenes. It's not just scans going like that all day. Actually, there's a lot of green screen. There's a lot of holographic computers and things that are just literally plexiglass, and I have to sit there and poke away. Yeah.
Is that something that you sort of work on? Is that something as far as your acting rehearsal for the scene, you're having to, get the motions just right so that the CGI can be fit to your movement?
Yeah, you know what? It's sort of, you break it down with the visual effects guys before, because if I start doing this and that and the other, they're like, there's a budget here, its screen is way too big. So no, and actually, luckily enough, those holograms, because they're not real, they don't really fight back. So they're often they're easier scenes to do.
That's amazing, and it's produced by a couple names we might know: Ben Affleck and Matt Damon.
Just small dudes.
Yeah,
they're just starting out.
Yeah, who are just
just starting out. Give them a round. They're really. They might get there one day.
They might get there someday, but these guys are workhorses, man. I mean, so what does it mean to you as an actor to work on a project associated with these guys? And did that help appeal the script to you? Was that...
Well, it made my life slightly harder because my mum doesn't stop screaming when she sees that and the two names next to it. She freaks out. It's obviously the absolute dream. Like I'm playing a 30-year-old American man. I'm a 24-year-old Brit. It shouldn't really happen. Luckily, it has. They'll all realize their mistake very soon. But it is, yeah, it's an absolute pleasure. And I think they are exactly that, workhorses, and they care about everything that they do. And this is their first TV show, the drama that they produce. Obviously, they have Project Greenlight. And you can tell that the people underneath them and the staff that they have around them are exactly the same work ethic. They have exactly the same mentality, and they've said some really nice things, and they've helped with the editing and the casting, and so it's the absolute dream.
Yeah, and so why don't you talk a little bit about your character? I mean, you're kind of a double agent. What we know of you so far is you're trying to undermine this corporate entity that's taken over the green zones. In the red zone. So what's it like to play an undercover agent? Is that something that was fun for you?
He's like infinitely smarter and cooler than I am. Like I don't think you can, but he's really fun to play. I mean, it was really tough. I'm sort of playing two characters on the show, two different ages, two different personas, two different names. But playing Ben, the guy that you see there, I mean, although he doesn't quite look it, he's meant to be sort of relatively close to the cleanest man possible. This persona that he's built with this sort of suit of armor and this, just his general demeanor is a little bit too clean, a little bit too sunny. He's very driven, very sharp, very quick, very ambitious, and sort of that's how Aaron, who Ben really is, tries to get away from sort of his secret mission to deter sort of and deflect any suspicion. But he's so complex, and there's always. I mean, it was I went home exhausted every single day. What we do, I guess, as a job is, like, we trick our bodies into feeling and believing the things that we need to feel. The problem is once our brains turn off, that feeling, that's still reverberating around us. We still carry that around with us. And this man lives the most stressful life I've ever seen in existence. Never has so much happened to so few in so little time. I think the 10 episodes happen across 18 days. And I mean, he has 3 life-altering experiences every episode. So I nearly had a coronary about 4 times a week, and there's just these 2 internal motions ripping at each other consistently. Ben, Aaron, Laura, Elena, green, red, however you want to describe it. But he's manipulating and lying to everyone and anyone. So what I do from here deters from what I say from there and what I show from here, and it takes a lot of mapping and a lot of stress.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you're shooting, you guys shot this in Toronto. I mean, what are you guys doing? Are you an actor who likes to stay in that process, or do you like to sort of cut it up a little bit and allow yourself? I lie to everyone all the time. Yeah, and I only wear 3-piece suits. The great thing about shooting on location is then that you're there for that exact reason, and so you're sort of surrounded by it the whole time. None of us really had a lot of time off. We're all in quite a lot, and luckily enough, a lot of the story centers around Ben's goal. So when I wasn't doing work on set, I was at home prepping or trying to just sleep. But it was great, and I was on Rain in Toronto the year before. So in the same studio, my trailer I think was 40 feet away from where I used to work, which is crazy. So it was a really enjoyable experience. Yeah, I mean, speaking about Rain, obviously, I'm sure a lot of people know you from that show. So great. What was the paradox of having to play, Middle Ages, old world versus this? So that's kind of a jump, to go from past to future so quickly.
It is. I think, actually the future is a lot easier to play. I think contemporary is a lot easier to do because there's a lot more variety. You're not I don't think you're penned into social and sort of a social status as much as you are back in the day. And I think there's just so much more variety nowadays that I think a lot of people find modern movement, modern interaction a lot easier and a lot more natural because that's the world we live in. But the moment you go back into period dramas, things are more clipped, things are more traditional, and we're not used to that because we haven't seen it in so long. That's why it was the Middle Ages. I don't think it's 400 years ago. I don't think we can really remember off the cuff how our demeanor should be. So the future's always easier.
Yeah, because you get to sort of create the future a little bit. Once, you've been cast in something like this and you've had the character for a little while, are you...
Vodka.
Yeah, are you... It's a little stiff, exactly.
Yeah, I was a little nervous.
That'll help. That absolutely. You know, once you've had the character for a little bit, a couple episodes, at what point do you feel like you're starting to take command of the character versus, you know, like just reading the words or something like that? How much do you want to bring in your own sort of take on it, and were the writers pretty open to something like that?
Yeah, they were always pretty. I mean, I spoke with Alex, Ted, and David since the two creators and our showrunner, Ted Humphrey. Ted Humphries is are great, and they were really open to anything that I had in mind. But really, I sort of entrust. I think there's a relationship between writers and actors. It has to be a compromise. It has to be a collaboration. You know, it can't be one way or the other, because neither of you can be a dictatorship on this. You know, actors can't just say. I know a lot of actors say that, well, I know best, it's my character. And you go, okay, yeah, there's an argument for that, but if there wasn't for the creator in the first place, your character wouldn't exist, and then what meaning do you have? So you can't just sort of nullify their relevance and their input on this character. And I never assumed that I'm smart enough to tell anyone anything. So ultimately they're right, and that's kind of how I followed on this one. I think I care about this project so much, and I'm entirely aware of how fortunate I am to be there. So really it was like, guys, what can I do to make what you do best work? And there were things, you know, I try to make people as real as possible. I try to make them as empathic as possible, and luckily he's not much of a caricature character. Big characters are always very fun, but for me it was about trying to get into the mindset, how he thinks sort of drives a lot of how I then perform, obviously, and because he has to think so damn much and think so quickly, that sort of shaped a lot of it. But most of the credit has to go to the writers, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And you also have a couple of moments where you have to handle yourself. There's some physical altercations and some fight scenes, that sort of thing. Is that something you had done before, or something that you started working on once you got the show?
There's like, you end up picking up different bits and bobs on the show, but I think actually people got a bit tired of me because I got tasered a whole bunch of times on the show. Anytime the week was really stressful, it'd be like, there's this scene that Sean's getting tasered in now. So if you can just roll around on the floor. No, I get beaten up with bricks, axes, guns, tasers. We did all kinds of crazy stuff on the show, this one. You do pick them up as you go along. I remember I did a fight scene once in a pyramid in Africa, in the Sahara, and at that point I was like, okay, how is this? This is ridiculous. No one's taught me how to fight with a sword, and now I'm just flinging this thing around. So yeah, you pick it up as you go. I didn't train, so I didn't do any theater school stuff, sadly.
When you're acting, getting tasered, are you going on YouTube and watching people getting tasered on video?
A lot of videos of people getting tasered on YouTube. No one helps people on YouTube. It's like this guy's getting stabbed on the subway. It's like, oh, no way, dude. It's like, call an ambulance, do something. Yeah, there's a lot of tasering videos if you need. I've got them all.
So your research was a little fun with that one, absolutely.
Yeah, fun I wouldn't say, but it was, I've checked it out.
So, people who are tuning into the show November 30th, what can they expect? Where is this character going to go? I mean, give them a little bit of anticipation here.
If you can't stand my face, don't watch it, because he does turn up quite a bit. But what can you expect? I guess there's something in this. I keep on saying this, and it sort of resonates for some reason. I think there's something for everyone on this show, in the sense that there are a lot of great, powerful characters on the show that all have completely understandable and justified motives. You'll relate to someone within that demographic personally, whether it's male, female, social status, economic wealth, whatever it is, or just your alignment with how you treat family and how you protect your cubs. Or there's a lot of it is about family, and a lot of it is obviously about love and espionage. But there's a bit of everything, there's a lot of comedy, there's a lot of science fiction stuff, obviously, a lot of drama, a lot of suspense, and hopefully people are terrified when they watch it, because they get into some really dark situations. So if you're up for just a mishmash of anything and everything, please check it out. That's the worst log line for a show I think you could ever do. But there's bits for everyone in there, and if you want to watch a show, you have no idea where it's going to go and how you're going to get out of this one, and how you're going to manage to. How is Ben and anyone else going to pull himself out of this spot? Then check it out, because there's a lot of surprises.
That's awesome, man. And let's start a little bit about how you got here. I mean, you grew up in London, and you're one of those secret Brit actors that people don't realize you're British, I'm sure, until you start talking. Exactly. So, what got you? Did you start in theater? Did you start pretty early, or is it something that came later in life?
I couldn't say a word when I was 16. I was bad. I was just bad. I don't think you can be good or bad, but I was bad at it. And I'm sure loads of people that were at my secondary school can vouch for that. No, I was doing too many subjects that involved pen and paper. So I was doing history, economics, and a bunch of languages, because I'm also Spanish. So I was taking all these subjects, and I just needed a creative outlet. So I took up drama, and like I said, I sucked at it. But it was almost the best character I could play. Was an actor that was so bad at acting. And bit by bit, something happened when I was 16 and 18. Between 16 and 18, whether it was a removal of pride or an increase in confidence, I don't know what shift occurred really, but it became incredibly important to me. And if I had the same speech every day, I would have felt it more. I would have said it better. I don't know what it was, but day by day, everything else became unimportant, and drama became the only thing that mattered to me. I was doing these school plays. School plays, as you all know, really suck. And also, there's 60 kids, 15 of them are ill and like snotty, and then like 10 are late, and 15 don't even have their scripts, and most of them are just fighting or hanging off the walls. So, and also you can say your one line that you get 3 months down the road that you probably screw up anyway. So I didn't really do them. And then by the time I was 16, 17, 18, we were devising a lot of our own pieces, and it just became something I was obsessed with. And my agent, who I'm still with now, they'd heard something and they came and checked it out, and I didn't know they were there. And then they came up afterwards and did the whole hey kid, he didn't say that at all. He was English. He just sort of went listen, if you want a chance to make your passion a career, then give us a go. And then a month later, I was doing this short film with Tom Hardy, and it started.
That's amazing. How is it like to work with somebody, Tom Hardy, so early?
Oh my God, he's a big guy. He's kind of terrifying, actually. I remember I was sitting. It was Greg Williams was doing this short movie called Sergeant Slaughter, and it was meant to be the summer movie, but it was England, so there was 6 feet of snow, and I was bullying his younger brother in this short movie, and I hadn't met Tom yet, and I knew that I was going to at some point. He was so charming and so lovely. Really charismatic, actually. You can really sense his presence from about 14,000 miles away. But I was sitting down on the front doorstep outside, probably sulking or doing something weird, and trying not to die of cold. And I get this poke on the top of my shoulder, and I look up, and it's Tom Hardy. Oh. He goes, "All right, mate." "Yeah, I'm all right. Are you playing Derek?" "Yeah." "Great. See you in a bit." He had a shotgun and an air rifle on his person because he'd been hunting on the farm. Okay. So the first sight I had on this job was Tom Hardy bearing down on me with his shotgun and an air rifle. I was like, okay, this is going to be a really fun week. Yeah.
You're like, I better get this scene right or else.
So it was really great to work with you. It was an absolute privilege and a pleasure, and I would cherish it forever.
When you're a young kid getting that first talk, from your agent, are you already dreaming of what roles you want to do? Are you getting to do the roles you want to do, or what's in the future for you?
Hopefully I'm not going to be unemployed. Honestly, the dream is just to keep on doing it. I don't really have there are obviously some projects that I have my eye on, some books that I've really cared about that I've read when I was younger and that I'd love to participate in some way. But really, I just think I'm pulling the wool over everyone's eyes anyway. Why not? Why try and get cocky? Why not just keep on trying to steal jobs? No, I think as long as I'm working, I'd love to do another series of Incorporated. If you thought about what kind of roles you'd like to play, this is the perfect role for a young man to play. It's exciting. It's passionate. It's complex. It's tricky. It's enjoyable. It's fruitful. It's rewarding. It's all sorts of things. Even though 4 of those words meant the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, they're all good things, so we'll take it. There's something about I love what Syfy is doing right now with their original series. It's a whole new rebrand. It's like I remember when we were all growing up, it was known for maybe a different, more cheesy product, something. But now it's like really the dramas that they're creating are really interesting. What's it like to be a part of a network that perhaps you weren't that familiar with before? Or were you pretty aware of their programming?
I was aware of Battlestar Galactica, actually. My dad and brother are science fiction fans, far greater than I am. But it is really great. And at first, it's sort of you'd think on paper that this wouldn't be a program that was originally sort of scheduled on Syfy, not because Syfy is a wonderful network, just because they've really started to rebrand, as you said. I think something happened when AMC. I think they used to be the All American Movie Channel, didn't they? And when they stopped doing reruns of 16 Candles and started making like Breaking Bad, Walking Dead, Mad Men in 3, everyone just went, oh my God, what's going on here? So I think everyone, it's sort of coincided with a massive influx of talent going to TV. There's Syfy's just made, I mean, The Magicians is a great series, a few friends of mine on there, and The Expanse as well. They've really started, and Killjoys with Hannah is wonderful as well. So yeah, we're lucky to be there, but it's nice to be a part of this new shift.
Absolutely. And are you getting a chance to still do a couple movies here or there? I know you've had a couple great roles in some. So is it something that you still want to do, or are you really enjoying the TV world right now?
Well, it seems like TV is the only thing I've been doing of late. Actually, I tend to fill up most of my year with TV, but yeah, sadly, I was going to do this great project in Berlin that just fell through. So I might be doing a road trip movie at the beginning of the year, which should be really fun, and just try and fill the time with whatever it is that seems to fit and that seems to be right, and if they'll have me before hopefully another season.
Yeah, absolutely. And where would you like to see Ben's character go? Is there something that something about his through line that really compels you, something that you're hoping will happen for him, that the writers will get, clicked in there?
I have no idea where it's going to go, solely on the basis that so much happened already and I didn't know. And then once you perform it, once you see it through, it all makes so much sense to you and you understand. I mean, throughout the series, what you're going to watch a lot of is his loss of humanity. I think a lot of the show is about whether the end justifies the means, the amount of people he has to get out of the way to save a certain number of people. Soon the ratio starts to flip on him. The problem is the deeper he gets into this and the further he goes in, he can't pull out. The only way is through, which means more collateral damage, more casualties. And can he sort of spin and juggle all these plates while keeping certain people in life because he doesn't want them to go? And so it's you see across the series a man starting to rip away at everything that he is, and by the end he's a totally different human, I think. So it'd be interesting to see which way he goes, because you're going to see some really crazy stuff. Some stuff that, at least at the beginning of the series, he might be lying, he might be manipulating, but he doesn't harm anyone, and he's just trying to do the right thing and save this person that's been sold into sex slavery. I mean, it's a noble quest to make, and it's an inherently selfless one. It's not for him, it's for her. He's been looking for 6 years, at his own risk. I mean, if he gets caught, he's gone, he's dead. So she doesn't even know he's coming. And so how far does this man have to go? You'll see. But the next season is going to be an interesting one. The dynamic of the whole series is actually going to change because of what happens at the end. So
Well, that's amazing. Well, that's quite the teaser right there. And I know we have a couple questions in the audience right there.
Hey, brother, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good, terrified.
Congrats on the show, it looks awesome.
Thank you very much.
If you could make a appearance as a guest star on another show, what would it be? And why?
That is a great question. I've thought about this recently because I haven't watched too much TV of late, but if I could, you know what, I said this a lot, and I'm going to give it to Sons of Anarchy. I really, really love that show. I think Kurt Sutter's an unbelievable showrunner. And Charlie Hunnam and the guys on that are really great. And I learned how to ride a bike for this show, actually, but we didn't get a motorbike in there. So apart from some of the staircase stuff. So Sons of Anarchy, just because of the performers. And I mean, who doesn't want to be a part of a biker gang? Like a little bit, for like a week. Because the full existence would be probably quite tiring, but for like a little bit, that's exactly what I do, probably. Sons.
I'd watch that. Next question right there.
Hey, Sean. I was wondering what the audition process or what the audition was like for this show, and so I noticed the rings on your fingers. Do they mean
it's very obnoxious? I'm so sorry. There's a few. I just realised how many there are. There's a lot of rings. Also, Band of Brothers is another answer. One of the best miniseries ever made. So the audition process. I was there's this wonderful woman that I keep on mentioning because she's kind of glorious at CBS called Meg Lieberman. And I'd met Meg, and we'd had conversations about Rain before I'd done Rain, and then we were potentially going to Narcos was we were floating around doing a bunch of stuff, and we ended up doing Rain, and Meg was so great about it, and so after I'd finished Rain and I decided I was going to leave, she'd rung again and she said that this pilot was still floating around that they hadn't found their Ben. And my initial reaction was 30-year-old Ben Larson, probably white, blonde, and blue-eyed. This is just going to be a nightmare to try and persuade. But I went in a few times with Suzanne Smith in London, a casting director, and then I got a call from Ted, Alex, and David, the creators. We talked about it a bit more, what they thought about what I could manipulate, what we could change, and I sort of picked their brains a bit, as much as a three-way call allows you to do. And I mean, 3 weeks later, I was in LA, having done a few meetings. I was in LA screen testing. So it was all. I mean, it was a relatively quick turnaround. It was probably mid-June through to the end of July, and by August we were shooting the pilot. And on basis of the rings, luckily enough, I get to travel all over, and I like to travel as much as I can when I'm not working. And ever since I was young, I always wore rings. I'm not really sure why. It was just something that I did, and it was a way for me. These are all either from very special people or from special places, and so it's a way for me to always carry around where I've been. So instead of collecting postcards or whatever it is, scarves. I don't know why you'd collect scarves. The rug collection that you have at home. I decided that this was my way of remembering everywhere I've been and where I'd like to go. So I guess that's it.
That's great. Last question right there.
Hey, Sean. This series looks amazing, so I can't wait to check it out. So I know you mentioned that you were on Rain, so I was wondering, do you find any differences working in a cable series as opposed to a network series?
No, I'm still confused by the definitions, actually, because we just TV, innit? In English, you'd be like, he's on telly. It's 20. You know what? Cable 22 episodes is an absolute beast to do, and that's what we did over on Rain. And so you have to commend Adelaide and Megan and all the guys over there because they work an insane amount of hours per week, and the crew are even more insane. So. It is really tough, and also like a 10 and a half month shoot, 22 episodes from like searing hot summer through to minus 30 degrees in the winter is not an easy transition. So that experience was so rewarding but really tough. We went down to 10 episodes on this network show, as you know, and it was actually because of the workload. It was actually just as intense. I know it was a lot shorter, but it was a very tiring, very physically enduring shoot. Sorry, and also I couldn't eat anything because then I'd bust out of that suit. So it was a really tough 6 months. So they were both rewarding, but in different ways.
Okay, guys. Well, check Sean out on Incorporated, November 30th on Syfy Channel, and one more hand for Sean.
And USA.
Guys.
It's on USA as well.
USA,
so.
yeah. There we go.